Hi everybody, it's Carrie from KDS Insurance Services. How are you doing today on this beautiful Monday afternoon? I do have some new lighting today, so I apologize for these round circles that you're seeing in my eyes. I will try to get that resolved once I figure this new system out. So I wanted to just come to you today and talk to you a little bit about the type of equipment. This is a continuation. Sorry, let's back up and do this right. This is a continuation to my series of what it takes to open your own agency and what's required and kind of budgetary restrictions and what you have to think of right off the top when you get started. Like in any office, you're going to need office equipment, and depending on how many people are going to be in the agency with you at the start, obviously that's going to kind of dictate what your expenses are going to be on the front end. As you know, my position is that you should start with an employee. So I'm going to tell you 2 desks, 2 chairs, 2 printers, 2 computers, a big sort of external hard drive so you can share if you're not going to set up a really big network, so you can communicate with each other. But you can do that now using a lot of the online services that weren't available when I started. So 2 desks, 2 chairs, 2 computers, 2 printers, a phone system. Phone systems are expensive unless you are willing to go out and sign a contract. I've actually used a couple, and I would totally recommend Ooma, OOMA. They've got a really great plan. You can add to it. You don't get gouged, and you just lease your phones as you go, and they're VoIP. And I do strongly recommend that because you have lots of options with sharing your messages and so forth. So definitely do your homework on the telephone system that you use. You have to have one. You can't use a cell phone. You have to have a dedicated number. You have to have a dedicated phone service, so when people call in, they're calling a professional business. I do not recommend that you solely use your cell phone. A lot of the carriers will not accept that too if you go independent, so just know that. And I think that's the same on the captive side as well. So then you're going to have office space. We've talked about that. Are you going to start from your home, or depending on your contract, do you have to have a retail space? So you're going to have to consider the cost to get a building and make any remodels to the building, or any changes that you make, or even build it out. There's a lot of places now that are offering you really great pricing if you build it out yourself, which I'm a really big believer in DIY. So I would tell you that's definitely something to think about. And when I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money. When I first started, the savings was half, 50%. So I put all the money into it, and then it brought my rent down. The only thing you got to remember is you're investing in somebody else's property. So if you're going to stay there a long time, you'll eventually get your money back. Phone system, computers, printers are very important. Some sort of external hard drive, definitely, so you can back up your files. And you must have a filing system, a paper filing system. I'm old school in this business, and I would never, ever, ever recommend that you go to a completely paperless system. Just for your own protection, you need to have files where you're printing documents and receiving documents. So if there's ever an issue or a claim or a compliance situation, you have paperwork. So you're going to have file cabinets. And a 4-drawer file cabinet is probably you can get those all day long for under $100, especially on a lot of the internet sites where they sell things. Printers are really great. You need to get an all-in-one printer so you can scan and do all those different types of things that you're going to need. Because in this business, you do a lot of scanning and sending to the carriers, especially in the beginning, until you kind of streamline what you do within the carrier's confinements, if you will, or requirements. Phone system, as I said, we've talked about that. We've talked about another really big thing, and one of your first sales can be your own insurance policy. You do need to have a liability policy when you have a retail space. It's very important. If it's open to the public and they can come in, you need to have a liability policy that protects you against slip and fall, because it's just the smart thing to do, and that can actually be one of your first commercial policies for your own commercial space. So that's another thing. You're also going to need to have errors and emissions insurance. If you sign with a cluster, then you will get errors and emissions insurance from that cluster. However, if you do anything outside that cluster, a carrier or a broker or whatever it may be, then you have to have your own policy that you pay for as well. I personally have two, just because I do life and health, and I want to make sure that I have a policy that protects me if I don't place my life and health business with the cluster that I work through. So that could be your second policy. And then, I would tell you to kind of get started, you need to have some sort of potentially little space for you to have coffee and, those kinds of things to make your day-to-day the most productive that it can be. And that's really not too terribly expensive. So those are just some of the very first things that you're going to need to think about when you talk about opening your business. You're also probably going to have a couple of extra chairs or a couch for people, depending on how you're going to situate and operate your business, whether you're going to have space for people to come in. Now, remember, we're still not out of COVID yet, and I don't think we're going to be out for another year, maybe a year and a half completely. So just be careful when you are working on your budgets up front, because they can add up really quickly. I can tell you, when I opened my agency with Allstate, I was well into $20,000 to $25,000 up front, but I had a lot of requirements from them as well. So just really do your research, get your budgets together, make some sound decisions, and do it before you make those decisions, your research, because it really will make a difference. So happy Monday, and I will see you in my next video. Oh, by the way, please stop by my YouTube channel, Carrie Devlin Scroggins, and leave me a comment. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. Hit that bell so you know the next time I send out a video, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.